Oh boy, the Sixers, they might be in trouble. I'm Nick Roloff, filling in for Chase Sr. today as he's down at the NFL Combine, but the 76ers are inching closer and closer to being a play-in team, which would just be an absolute disaster for Nick Nurse and the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll talk about how they can avoid the play-in today and how close they already are to that vaunted 7-8 matchup to get into the NBA postseason. One thing we can all agree on, though, is that it's F Boston. We all hate the Celtics. We all hate Boston. So let's beat them in the February sub battle. We trail by about 20 right now. Hit that sub button today. Let's jump Celtics today. If we can't beat them on the hardwood, we have to at least beat them on the YouTube streets. All right, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings as we currently film here at 5:50 Central Time on Tuesday? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Man, I get lost on these days. Celtics, they're the 1. Cleveland 2. Milwaukee 3. New York 4. Our 76ers at 5. Miami at 6. Indiana at 7. And Orlando at 8. But one thing that does need to be mentioned as we head into tonight's game on Tuesday, well, the Heat, they're 8-2 in their last 10. And they are playing the Portland Trail Blazers tonight as they are missing Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson, and they're missing also someone else. Oh, Malcolm Brogdon, that's who it is. And they're likely going to win. And Philadelphia plays Boston. So if you lose to the Celtics tonight, Miami wins, they've already beat you twice, you're going to be into the 6th spot after tonight. And the Sixers keep on trending in the wrong direction. They're 3-7. I just mentioned Miami 8-2 in their last 10. Indiana and Orlando are also pretty hot as well in their last 10 games. They just keep on coming after and after you. And we know it was always going to be a uphill battle for Philadelphia to maintain that top spot, at least in the top half of the Eastern Conference standing, without Joel Embiid. And if we're just going to call a spade here, it has not been pretty whatsoever since the MVP left the lineup. The 76ers are 23rd in points, 23rd in field goal percentage, 24th in three-point percentage, 23rd in offensive rating, and even worse, 28th in defensive rating, and 25th in net rating. To sub this out, you've been a bottom 7 team in the National Basketball Association with Joel Embiid out of the lineup. And listen, I'm not going to come out and you say, we never expected them to be that good, right? If you expected the Sixers to be a top 10 team in the NBA without the MVP, you would be sadly mistaken. But the hope was 15 to 19 range, not 25 to 30 range. You're in the same tier as Detroit, Toronto, Brooklyn, and San Antonio. This is just not ideal if you're a 76ers fan. And to make matters worse, the Sixers' schedule is not getting any easier. They have a lot of tough games left on the horizon as you are just 25 games away from the postseason getting underway. Remaining opponents for Boston. For Philly, you got Boston. You got the Thunder, who are atop the Western Conference standings. Another team in the top 4 in the West. Clippers, you got them twice. In the East, you got the Cavs. You got Milwaukee, the Knicks twice. Orlando, who's coming up on you. Phoenix, who is playing better and better basketball as time goes on. And then not to mention, you also got the Mavericks, who are playing better since the last 2 weeks. New Orleans, the Miami Heat twice, who have already beat you 2 times. The Lakers, the Kings. Moral of the story, you have a lot of tough games to go in the final 25-game stretch. And as things are currently reported, with Joel Embiid not anticipated to return in the regular season as he's going to start practicing, hopes to be ready by the start of the postseason in mid-April, you are going to have to somehow weather the storm when you play 16 games against teams that are above 500. If you want to try to stay out of the play-in, you have to try to go 500 against those teams above 500. Can you go 8-8? It's going to be a tall task. A lot of this will be put on Tyrese Maxey's shoulders. Can he do that? That is the biggest question. That's why you made some of those additions at the trade deadline, like Buddy Hield, like Campaign. But I just don't know if it's going to be enough to stay afloat against these elite teams in the West and East when you're missing 35 points per game, 10 rebounds, and the gravity Joel Embiid has on the offensive end. Not to mention, he can also give you 1.5, 2 blocks a night. I will say this, though. You have 16 games against teams above 500. You have some easier games, so it's not like out of the final 25 you're playing all teams that are elite in the playoff standings. You still got the Hornets twice, you got Brooklyn twice, Memphis twice. If you're going to be honest here, if you want to avoid the play-in, you have to go 6-0 against those three teams on the left. And then when you're talking about the other teams on the right with Toronto, San Antonio, Detroit, is it crazy for me to say, producer Jake Chipper, that you say you need to get at least 5 of 9? Can I be honest, Chip? And you can chime in if you want. I think you got to go 9-0.
I mean, gotta go 9-0. Look, you need at least 8. I agree with you. Like these teams, man, you can't be losing to teams under 500. I mean, it can't be happening.
And you look at those teams, like even without Joel Embiid, like I would say Philadelphia is the better team on paper. Maybe you can argue Toronto will give them trouble. So I'll give you 8-9, Mr. Jake Chipper. But you're talking about Charlotte. Yeah, they've been playing good over the last 2 weeks. You have to beat them twice. You have to beat I'm spacing on the other one. You have to beat Brooklyn twice. They're freaking horrible. So I'm just like, you also play the Pistons as well. You have to win these games. I'd say you go 8-1 over these 9-game stretch against 500. Try to go 8-8. I think that'll give you in a solid spot. But I'll ask you, will the 76ers fall into the NBA play-in? If you think they will, type Y for yes. If you're a little bit more optimistic, type N for no. I don't want to be the pessimistic guy, but with the tough schedule and without Embiid, I'd probably lean yes. Coming up in just a bit, though, Jake Chipper delivered a plan that he let me know on, that how the Sixers can avoid the play-in so they don't have to play an extra playoff game and potentially play Milwaukee, Cleveland, or Boston in the first round. Before we get there, got to show some love to our sponsor, which is Factor Meals. And you can get 50% off when you go to factormeals.com and use code SixersChat50. Factor, what is it? Well, it's delicious, ready-to-eat meals that make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready with pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. I just got my new shipment today. I'm not shitting you, and boy, was I very happy with what came in my little box. You can choose from options like keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, protein plus, and there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. What are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. 2-minute meals, fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals that are ready to heat wherever you are. Head to factormeals.com/SixersChat50 and use code SixersChat50 to get 50% off. That's code SixersChat50 at factormeals.com/SixersChat50 to get 50% off. Link is in the description and comments of today's video. I'll say this, and I'm in agreement with Mr. Chipper. The Sixers cannot afford to be in the play-in for the same reason I labeled out just before that Factor ad read, right? You do not want to play Boston because God forbid you lose that first play-in game and that 7-8 spot, you win the second, and you're the 8th seed, and you got to play Boston in the first round. Well, that's a first-round exit waiting to happen. Sorry to be a pessimistic guy here. You just simply cannot be in that scenario. And like I mentioned just a second ago, in a one-game elimination, anything can happen. And if Joel Embiid isn't 1,000% ready to go, and if that truly is his first game back from his knee injury, because he didn't play at all in the regular season, is there really going to be that much confidence in Philadelphia being able to beat a potential Indiana, Orlando in that 7-8 game? I don't really know. And if you lose that game and have to play the winner of Chicago or whoever it is, like, sure, I'm probably taking Philly, but then you'd still have to play Boston in the first round, like I mentioned, which would be a complete and utter disaster and have the same result that Philadelphia has had over the past 4 or 5 years. But there is a way to avoid the play-in, and I think we have to first start by calling on Tobias Harris, because it's time for him to step up. Tyrese Maxey is the leading man right now, but you need Tobias to be a better second option. Sure, you already anticipated him to be the third guy, but his numbers just simply have to be better as that number 2 man to Tyrese Maxey. In the month of February, let's just call a spade a spade. He's been horrific. 15 points a game while shooting 24% from 3. Tobias, this has to be 20 points plus a night. And I'm not asking you to shoot 45% from 3. The field goal percentage, that's fine. I need you to give me 37% from three, though, Tobias. Come on now. You got Buddy Hield in that backcourt. If you have a three-headed monster that can score in the mid-range from beyond the arc, and Tobias Harris starts to finally play the basketball that we've seen him do in spurts in the past, well, maybe this Sixers team can avoid the play-in. And Nick Nurse is also calling on Tobias Harris as well. He said this, listen, I think that I always have to talk about how he's got a variety of things he can do. I still need him to get some stuff in transition, right? As a starter, a putback or two. We got a few sets for him, and then he's got to play off of stuff coming out to him, too. So we need to, though, need to get him going a little bit. So Maxey also kind of chimed in on this as well and took some responsibility. So they're saying that, well, Tobias Harris has maybe been phased out of the offense a little bit by design, which I don't really think is the right decision because he's one of your, if not your second most accomplished scorer on this team outside of Joel Embiid being injured. It's Tyrese, and I'd put Tobias too. This is what Tyrese Maxey had to say. I think that's probably on me. I got to get him better shots, get him in a position where he's comfortable. I think that's just a testimony to what Nurse was talking about. You got to get guys organized. Got to get guys in their right spot. Some plays, I'm just taking plays off. Don't love that. One pass shots, no pass shots. I got to do a better job of getting him better shots and getting him in better spots to be successful. The bottom line is, and as I mentioned, the Sixers have to find a way to get Tobias Harris to be more effective, and it starts with him being more aggressive. And I don't love... let's just say this. I love the accountability from Tyrese Maxey, but as the team's leading guard, and since you traded James Harden, you said, Tyrese, we're giving you the keys to the offense to be that main ball handler. Yeah, you're a scoring guard who's averaging 26 plus this season, but you're still got to get your guys involved. And I don't love the fact that he's openly admitted about taking plays off. So to get Tobias Harris more involved, I like to see Philadelphia and Nick Nurse run more two-man actions between Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris. To me, there is no reason why Tobias Harris can't act as the screener for Maxey, because Harris can either slip to the basket, catch it in that little free throw line spot, pull up for a mid-range, or make his decision-making to kick it out to another guy if he sees two, or he can do a little pick and pop where Tyrese draws a crowd because he was so good to be an all-star starter, and then swing it out to Harris for an open three on the catch. And then you also have Buddy Hield. I just feel like Nick Nurse, as good as a basketball mind as he is, can get those two in sync running two-man actions down the stretch of this season. And that kind of goes to this point, right? To avoid the play-in. Get the ball moving again. Stop with the ISO bullshit with Tyrese Maxey and get the ball humming around. I don't want to go back to the Miami Heat, but let's just call a spade a spade. I've said that 3 times now. It's a little too much in this show. But think about this. And just look last night. The Heat, without Hero, without Terry Rozier, without Jimmy Butler, went into Sacramento, who was the 5th seed in the West, and beat them, and were up by 20 at one point in that game. And their starting lineup was DeLon Wright, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Jaime Jaquez, and Bam. Why? Is because there is so much fluidity to their offense and no one is a ball hog. They are moving the ball at an elite spot. There's constant action off ball, setting screens for each other, cutting on the baseline in that dunker's roll, while the ball handling action at the top, elbow extended, is being had. You have to get the ball movement rolling, and since Embiid has went out, the Sixers are 26th in assists. I'm calling on you, Tyrese Maxey, to get the puppies organized, as Bill Raftery would say, and get this Sixers team more involved as a whole, rather than just go get your stats. Kelly Oubre, be ready to shoot the ball. Tobias Harris, we need to get you on track. Buddy Hield, keep it going as well. Paul Reed in that pick and roll as well. You just need to get the ball moving, more fluidity in this half-court offense when you're not running out in transition, because the half-court offense has absolutely stunk, and that gets into my point just a second ago. Tyrese Maxey needs to take control. You are the point guard. I get your scoring mentality guard first, but you need to get everybody else involved, get into the flow. To me, there's no reason why Tyrese Maxey can't ease into ball games, get everyone else comfortable, everyone else good looks, and then when it's crunch time in the 3rd and 4th quarter, that's when Maxey starts to hunt his shots and be the potential closer. Final way to avoid the play-in and play overall better basketball, you need to crash the boards. And the Sixers have just been being dominated on the glass for the past couple weeks. And Well, like I mentioned earlier, when Embiid goes out, you're obviously going to lose 10-plus rebounds a night and a very massive presence in that painted area. But the best way that you can get better looks for yourself on offense, second chance opportunities. Oubre, Harris, Paul Reed, get on the glass. Mo Bamba coming off the bench, start doing something, because if you're able to get offensive rebounds, well, the defense collapses as they tried to close out the possession, and that allows you to get an offensive rebound, kick it out. Someone's going to be open for three, whether it be Maxi, Oubre, or Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield, whoever it may be, there is going to be someone open after an offensive rebound. And if we're just going to go to the defense now, you can't give other teams more opportunities. For the same reason I just labeled it be imperative that the Sixers get on the glass offensively, the same can be said for their defensive side of the ball, because if the Sixers defense is already struggling to defend, and if you're giving teams second or third opportunities, and the same thing I mentioned, offensive rebounds result in wide open catch and shoot threes when it's kicked back out, the Sixers defense simply just cannot have that when you're already struggling to guard your man in one-on-one situations. So to come and bring this show all together, the way to avoid the play-in our opinion, here at Sixers Now, Tobias Harris has to step up. You got to get the ball moving again, looking specifically at Tyrese Maxey, and you got to get on the glass offensively and defensively. Start taking control of the rebound battle, and you can start putting some wins together. But let me know, be honest, confidence level that the Sixers avoid the play-in. Scale at 1 to 10. You probably don't care about my opinion, but if I'm going to be honest, I'd probably have that confidence very low, because Indiana's playing good ball. I honestly think Philadelphia will stay above Orlando in the standings, as they are playing good basketball as well, but I think Miami will jump them. It'll be a battle between them and Indiana for that 6-7 spot. I'd scale it at like a 3 if I'm going to be honest. Well, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because when Chase Sr. returns, he'll have you covered up until the postseason and the play-in potentially. But in the meantime, Jake Chipper will have you prepared. So whether it be me, Nick Roloff, I know y'all have seen Matthew Peterson on this channel before as well. Hit that sub button, because you're going to be covered on everything Philadelphia 76ers.